Welcome everybody to the Amy Noel YouTube channel. I'm here today with Anna Mason from Somerset, England. And she has a really exciting story about what she's recently started doing with her dyslexic son and seen huge improvements. So I'm really excited for her to tell us about that. Anna, can you tell us what you're currently doing in your life? Like, what is your profession?
So I'm a qualified teacher, but I've spent the last few years working as a professional photographer. But funny enough, the experience of teaching my son and working with him encouraged me to go back to teaching. So I kind of do part-time photography and part-time teaching as well.
Okay, where do you teach?
So I teach in schools with special provision schools, so schools for children with additional needs.
And how many children do you have, and how many of them are dyslexic?
So I have two boys, and my older son, he's 9, he is dyslexic. The youngest one, he doesn't show symptoms just yet. I don't think he will follow this pattern.
When did you find out that your oldest son has dyslexia?
I have noticed quite early, because having this teaching experience, you look like you notice those signs. So he was probably about 4.5 when I noticed first symptoms. But unfortunately, it's like with this kind of diagnosis, sometimes it takes years to actually get actual diagnosis and start helping process. So yes, we didn't have the formal assessment done until probably a few weeks ago.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, that's very recent, but I have known for a long time. We have had dyslexia screening done previously, which gave us like great probability of him having dyslexia.
So do you know if he has any other comorbid diagnoses like ADHD or anything?
So yes, so he has diagnosis of ADD. He also suffers with anxiety and sensory processing issues.
So tell us, what have you done to help your son?
Well, first of all, we didn't really get that much help from school, which pushed me to look for ways of helping him at home. And this lockdown was just such a blessing for us. It gave me this opportunity to watch him very closely and to work with him very closely every day. So I realized what he's struggling with the most. He's always struggled with blending words, with decoding sounds, with making this connection between letters and sounds, which would completely stop him from being able to read words and read fluently a large amount of text. I thought I'd try to remove this decoding issue, so I started marking words for him, crossing off, not removing, but crossing off gently with a line silent letters to let him know this is the letter which is in this word, but we don't pronounce it. So first of all, he builds this visual image of the word, so he will know we still spell it with that letter there, but he knows he doesn't have to pronounce it. I mean, it made such a difference. He just, from literally 1 week to another, he was able to read words all of a sudden. I think it also removed this pressure of having to know all of the letters and sounds, which obviously for dyslexic children, especially children with ADHD as well, is massive struggle. But apart from that, I also came across a reading ruler, which is basically, I made it myself for him at home. But I really like the concept, and it made sense because he is getting very distracted and confused while reading. It's basically a bit of paper with a little window cut in the middle. So it allows him to follow only one specific line that he is currently reading. And this as well is like made massive difference for him.
When you mark the words, are you only taking out the silent letters, or are there other things that you're marking?
A lot of parents had asked me the same question. They asked me how you do it, how can we do it, how can we adapt it to help our children progress like your son did. So I think it's very important to watch your child and to notice what they're struggling with. Every child, even dyslexic child, is completely different. So I have noticed that with some words, and I already know which words they are, he can't see the first letter and the last letter. Mm-hmm. So I will mark the first letter. It's normally going to be red. It's going to be underlined with red marker, or it's going to be just red letter itself. And the last letter, I will put a little bracket behind the letter to let him know this is part of this word. So read it together.
So when you underline the first letter, that helps him to notice it. And then when you put the bracket at the end of the word, does it help him to notice it or to just read it?
The bracket on the end is to let him know that this is still part of this word. It's normally S on the end that he can't read. Say the word girl and the word girls.
He'll just say girl.
Exactly. He would normally only read every single word without this S on the end. So this S, this bracket on the end tells him, you know, we don't finish reading until you get to the bracket. And he already associates what the bracket means. I also put a little sort of arch over the split digraph in the words so that he knows, and he already knows this is split digraph and he knows how we read it. So even if I don't explain it to him, and even if I don't mark a word, I forget to mark it, or he grabs a book and he wants to read it, and I point at it with this arch kind of movement, he gets, it's split digraph, so he knows instantly what to do with it.
Can you explain to us what a split digraph is?
In the word make, so we've got M, A, K, and E, and we don't pronounce E on the end, because it's connected with A.
Right.
So we only read A. This is the split digraph, and it's split by letter K. So, which is why it's split digraph.
Do you find that you have more time to read one-on-one with him now that things are shut down?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think it was so valuable to be able to watch him and to notice all of those little bits and pieces, those struggles, because they gave me a really good picture of what's missing at school. And it gave me this great opportunity to work on every single word, every single day. And I think I was even considering homeschooling ever since we've started progressing so quickly, so rapidly, because he spent the last 4 years at school really struggling really bad. I kind of think if we've only had few weeks to do it, which is the best proof that if you have this one-to-one time and this constant attention and those constant prompts and encouragement, you can progress really quickly.
Yes.
And what's amazing, apart from reading, I mean, he is over the moon that he can actually read. I don't think he was expecting that he would be able to read fluently. It's a massive surprise for him. It's almost like, Mommy, well, I mean, I read it so quickly. It boosted his confidence as well. And he actually wants to read. He is looking for text around him, words, and he always gives it a go. So I think this is what he needed. He needed this moment that would tell him, you can do it, you can give it a go, just try.
How does he feel about having dyslexia, and how did you talk to him about his diagnosis?
Because we didn't get diagnosis until very recently, he is 9 years old. He's very aware of his difficulties, and it's sadly he's always been aware of it. So it's just been part of his life. Oh, I've always struggled, but now we can explain it. You know, it's not that you've been struggling because you weren't working hard enough, because I think that's the main issue, especially with dyslexic children. You're not trying hard enough. Maybe if you try a little bit harder. And I've always known, and I've always seen he was trying so hard. It just wasn't working. It just wasn't sticking up. And now we know why it's not working. We know there is a way around it. We can help it. It's not a big issue.
Do you have any more to say about what your strategy is?
Also, what I'd like to mention is one of the moms, many moms have asked me, oh, can you share how you did it with us? We would like to give it a go. And one of them actually sent me a video of her son reading with the very similar ruler and with those words being marked. And she was just so amazed. She was so happy to see that it was actually working for him, and there was way around typical way of reading that's not working for those children. So it's definitely worth to give it a go and try to help your child as much as you can. Most of children with dyslexia have fantastic visual memory, and we just have to work on that, and we just have to focus on those strengths, and it's definitely possible, and it's definitely doable. And my son is just one of the examples that it can be achieved if you just try to find the way that they learn.
What do you feel your son's dyslexic gifts are? What is unique to his talents?
to be fair, I think the most amazing thing about the way his brain works is his visual memory. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And just an example from tonight, we were having some biscuits for supper, as you do. And he looked at them and he said, "Oh, mommy, remember that day when we went on grandma's and we were having those biscuits?" And he started telling me a whole story from the day, which I don't even remember anymore. It just stimulated his memory to the point that he remembered every single detail about that day. And that's absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't be able to do it. It takes a very little sort of trigger to trigger his memory and to build this like comprehensive story with all of the details, which is absolutely fantastic. I love it about him. And this makes him an amazing storyteller as well. He's such a great company. I mean, if you go for a walk, for a run, a bike ride, he needs to come with you. You want him there with you because you will not be bored. He's just fantastic company. He's so entertaining as well. Sometimes it looks like children with dyslexia have very poor memory, but I think it's just a matter of triggering this memory in the right way.
Yes, and for most dyslexics, working memory is a weakness, where the short-term memory, but long-term memory, situational memory, experiential memory, that is a strength. And how has having a child with dyslexia been a blessing for you? How has it affected your life?
It encouraged me to go back to teaching. So yes, that's amazing, because again, I think it's so important for teachers to be able to understand exactly how it feels, what it's like. And I think you can only fully understand a child if either you have personal experience of child with dyslexia or any other learning difficulty or any other sort of either mental condition or learning difficulty, or you have it yourself. And I love the fact that I can offer it to other children and not just my son. But also I have to say it's made my relationship with my son so much stronger because I get him, I understand him, I make this effort, and he fully trusts me, and he loves reading with me. And he says, "Mommy, I'm so glad that I can do it with you, because at school it doesn't always work, but with you it does." And we just bonded much stronger over the last few weeks.
Yes.
I think if children like my son, who have always struggled, because he has struggled ever since he started school, and it was always bothering him, and he just didn't know why and how to overcome these struggles. I think once they start seeing that they can actually progress and move forward and achieve whatever they want, he actually says to me, "Mommy, there is nothing too hard for me. You can't give me a bit of reading or maths. That's too hard. I can do it all now." And it's amazing to see how confident he became.
And it also shows the importance for bringing this kind of teaching to schools, because like you said, the schools, I don't feel, for the most part, many schools lack multisensory and structured and direct teaching for kids with dyslexia. So I'm doing a big push to have everybody, grassroots effort. So as we say, I don't know if they say that in England, but a grassroots effort for the people to tell our senators and our school districts the need for the change. What else would you like to leave us with?
Just watch your child, find those things that you think are the biggest problems, and you help them overcome those. Don't wait for school, don't wait for anybody else, you do it yourself. They will trust you, they will, see that they can do it regardless of what's happening in other places. It starts at home, and it can start at home.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is fantastic. And I'm just going to close the video saying thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks again, Anya. I'm going to go ahead and end this. Bye.
Bye-bye.